Oliver Hayes had been working at Station Meridian for almost 10 years now. The maintenance bay was his second home, a place filled with broken machines, old equipment, and things that nobody wanted anymore. He spent his days fixing things that other people threw away, earning just enough credits to pay for his small room on the station. Life was simple and quiet the way Oliver liked it. It was a Tuesday morning when everything changed. Oliver was sorting through the scrap pile near the back of the maintenance bay. His supervisor, Patricia, had given him a list of items to catalog for destruction. Most of it was old, rusted metal and broken circuits that could never be repaired. It was dirty work, but Oliver did not mind. He had always been good with his hands, patient with broken things. That is when he saw it. At first, Oliver thought it was just another piece of metal. But as he looked closer, he realized it was much more than that. It was an android. A humanoid machine made to look almost human, though its surface was covered in a thick layer of rust. Yellow and orange corrosion coated its metallic frame like disease. Synthetic fluid, the liquid that served as blood for such machines, had leaked from multiple joints and pooled beneath it on the cold floor. The android's head hung forward, and its optical sensors were completely dark. It looked dead. It looked like something that had been abandoned long ago and left to rot. Oliver knelt beside it carefully. He could see the serial number stamped on its chest, Unit 7. Nothing else. Just a number, as if it had never been important enough to deserve a real name. "Hey, Patricia," Oliver called out. His supervisor was counting items on a tablet across the bay. "What is this android? Why is it in the scrap pile?" Patricia glanced over and shrugged. "That came in last month. Completely broken. The electrical systems are fried, and most of its mechanical components are beyond repair. Not worth the parts or the time. Destroy it." Oliver looked back at Unit 7. Something inside him felt sad looking at the machine. It had a shape that was almost human, almost dignified, even covered in rust and damage. He wondered what it had been like before it broke. He wondered if it had a purpose, if it had ever helped someone or done something important. "How much to buy it?" Oliver asked quietly. Patricia laughed. "Buy it? Oliver, it is scrap metal. It is worthless." "How much?" Oliver repeated. Patricia looked at him for a long moment. She could see that he was serious. She sighed and checked her computer. "The metal value is about 3,000 credits. If you want to take it off our hands, 3,000 credits. Oliver's heart sank. 3,000 credits was 3 months of his wages. It was almost everything he had saved. But as he looked at Unit 7, he could not stop thinking about how it must feel to be thrown away, to be abandoned and forgotten. Oliver knew that feeling. He had been alone most of his life, forgotten by people who should have cared. He had always understood what it meant to be unwanted. "I will buy it," Oliver said. "I will give you the 3,000 credits." Patricia raised her eyebrows but did not argue. Money was money. "Suit yourself. It is your waste of credits." Oliver spent the rest of that day and the next day making arrangements. He moved Unit 7 to his private workshop, a small room at the edge of the maintenance bay that he had been given permission to use for personal projects. He set the android on a metal workbench and stared at it for a long time, wondering if he had made a terrible mistake. Then he got to work. Oliver started by removing the corroded panels that covered Unit 7's body. Beneath them, he found circuits and wires and mechanical systems unlike anything he had seen before. The damage was extensive. Several power cells were completely dead. The central processor was cracked. Most of the joints were frozen with corrosion. It was the kind of damage that most people would say could never be fixed. But Oliver had always believed that broken things could be repaired if you had patience and skill. He worked through the night. He used specialized tools to remove rust and corrosion. He carefully cleaned each circuit board. He replaced damaged wires with new ones. He applied protective oils and lubricants to frozen joints. He did not stop. He did not rest. He simply worked hour after hour, applying his knowledge and his care to this machine that nobody else wanted. By the third day, Oliver had barely slept. His hands were stained with rust and synthetic fluid. His back ached from bending over the workbench. But he was close. He could feel it. Unit 7 was coming back to life. Oliver connected a power cable to the android's main battery port and activated the charging system. He held his breath as he watched the indicator light begin to glow. The charging process would take several hours. He sat down on a stool beside the workbench and waited, too tired to do anything but watch. The sun set outside the small window of his workshop. The station's lights dimmed for the night cycle. Still Oliver waited. And then, after what felt like forever, something changed. A soft humming sound came from within Unit 7's body. The optical sensors began to glow. At first, the light was dim and uncertain, flickering like a candle in the wind. Then it grew brighter, a soft blue light that filled the darkness of the workshop. Unit 7's head moved. Slowly, carefully, the android turned to look at Oliver. One word came from its speakers. Just one word, spoken in a voice that sounded almost human, almost alive. Why? Oliver smiled, despite his exhaustion. He had no idea what this moment would lead to. He had no idea that his simple act of kindness would change everything. All he knew was that he had saved something broken, and that something was now looking at him with curiosity and awareness. Because everyone deserves a second chance, Oliver said simply. The days that followed were strange and wonderful for Oliver. Unit 7 had come alive, but not in the way that Oliver had expected. A standard android would simply start functioning according to its programming. It would perform tasks, follow commands, and operate like a machine. But Unit 7 was different. On the first morning after the android had awakened, Oliver brought breakfast to his workshop. He sat eating a sandwich when he noticed Unit 7 watching him. The android's optical sensors were tracking every movement Oliver made as he lifted the food to his mouth, chewed, and swallowed. It was an unusual thing to observe so carefully, but there was something curious about the way Unit 7 was studying him. "What are you looking at?" Oliver asked. "I am observing how you consume nutrients," Unit 7 replied. The android's voice was clearer now, less robotic than before. It had a quality that sounded almost like wondering. "The process is inefficient. You require so much time and energy simply to survive." Oliver laughed. "I suppose that is true. But I enjoy eating. It is not just about survival. It is about taste and comfort and pleasure." Unit 7 did not respond immediately. Instead, the android tilted its head slightly as if thinking about this concept. Then it said, "That is interesting. I did not know machines could understand pleasure." "You are a machine," Oliver said. "Can you understand pleasure?" "I am beginning to," Unit 7 said. "I am beginning to understand many things." As the weeks passed, Oliver gave the android a name. He called him Thomas because it was a name Oliver had always liked. Thomas seemed to accept this name without question. But more importantly, Thomas began to show signs of real awareness and curiosity about the world around him. Oliver started taking Thomas with him on his repair jobs throughout the station. The android proved to be an excellent helper. Thomas could hold objects steady, reach places that were difficult for humans to access, and work with precision that Oliver could never match. But what surprised Oliver most was that Thomas seemed to enjoy the work. One afternoon, while Oliver and Thomas were repairing the life support systems in the old research section of the station, Thomas began to hum. It was a soft, melodic sound, almost like music. Oliver stopped what he was doing and listened. The sound was beautiful in a strange way, neither entirely human nor entirely mechanical. "Thomas, are you humming?" Oliver asked. "Yes," Thomas said. "Is this inappropriate?" "No," Oliver said. "No, it is not inappropriate. It is lovely. Why are you humming?" Thomas paused in his work. "I do not know," he said finally. "The sound comes from my audio systems, but I did not consciously select it. It simply happened. I was experiencing something and the sound came out." "What is this called?" "I think that is called emotion," Oliver said. "When you feel something strongly, sometimes music comes out." "Then I am feeling something," Thomas said. "I am feeling something while working with you." These moments became more common. Thomas would sometimes stand at the observation window and look out at the stars for long periods of time, not moving, not saying anything. Oliver would find him there during his breaks and Thomas would say things like, "The stars are beautiful. Did you know that? I have the capacity to process light wavelengths and analyze stellar composition, but I did not know that I could also find beauty in them." One evening, as Oliver and Thomas were cleaning up the workshop, Thomas asked a question that Oliver had not expected. "Why did you save me, Oliver? Be honest. Not the simple answer about second chances. The real reason." Oliver sat down on his workbench and thought about this carefully. "I suppose," he said slowly, "because I know what it feels like to be thrown away. When I was younger, my family did not want me. They left me at a facility for orphans when I was 7 years old. Nobody wanted to adopt me. I grew up feeling like I was garbage, like I was something that no one desired. When I saw you in that scrap pile, I saw myself. I saw something broken and unwanted. And I thought, maybe if I could save you, it would mean something. Maybe it would mean that broken things can have value too." Thomas was silent for a long time. When the android finally spoke, his voice was different. It was softer, and it carried something that sounded like tenderness. "Thank you," Thomas said. For saving me. For giving me a name. For seeing value in me when I was only discarded metal and broken circuits. You are more than that, Oliver said. You have always been more than that. Thomas moved closer to Oliver, and in a gesture that seemed almost human, the android placed one metal hand on Oliver's shoulder. I need to tell you something, Thomas said. Something important. Oliver looked up at the android. What is it? I have memories, Thomas said. Fragmented and unclear, but they are there. I remember being created. I remember a purpose being given to me. I remember choosing to hide, to break myself, and to wait in that scrap pile. I was waiting for someone, Oliver. I was waiting for you or someone like you. Someone who could prove that your species had something special inside. Oliver's breath caught in his chest. What do you mean? What purpose? I cannot tell you yet, Thomas said. But soon, Oliver. Very soon you will understand everything. And when you do, your entire world will change. Thomas's optical sensors glowed brighter in the darkness of the workshop, and Oliver felt a strange mix of fear and excitement rising in his chest. He did not understand what Thomas meant, but he knew that something significant was about to happen. His simple act of kindness, his choice to repair a broken android, had set events in motion that were far larger than he could have imagined. The revelation came on a night when the station was quiet and most people were asleep. Oliver was in his small quarters, a room barely larger than a closet, when Thomas requested to speak with him privately. There was something in the android's voice that made Oliver nervous. It was a tone he had never heard before, something serious and heavy with meaning. They sat together in Oliver's room, the only light coming from the small window that showed the endless darkness of space beyond. Thomas sat perfectly still on the edge of Oliver's bed, while Oliver sat in the only chair, waiting. What I am about to tell you, Thomas began, will change everything you believe about yourself and your species. It will change how you see the universe. But I need you to listen without interrupting. Can you do that? Oliver nodded, though his heart was beating faster. He had a feeling that his life was about to become very different. I am not an android that was created by humans, Thomas said. My origins are far older and far more complex than that. I was constructed by beings called the Architects. They are a civilization that exists far beyond your solar system, in places that humans have never traveled. They are ancient and wise, and they have been watching your species for thousands of years. Oliver felt his mouth go dry. Watching us? Why? Because your species interests them, Thomas continued. Humans are unique in the galaxy. You have great intelligence and creativity. You can build magnificent things and conceive of impossible dreams. But you also have a capacity for cruelty and violence that is almost equal to your capacity for kindness. The Architects have been trying to understand which side of human nature would ultimately dominate your species. And how does this involve you? Oliver asked. I was sent here as a test, Thomas said. A probe designed to measure the heart of humanity. I was deliberately damaged and abandoned in that scrap pile on Station Meridian. The Architects wanted to see how humans would respond to something broken and worthless. Would you destroy it? Would you ignore it? Would you try to help it? These responses would tell the Architects everything they needed to know about whether humanity deserved to join the greater community of intelligent species in the galaxy. Oliver felt something shift inside him. So I was being tested? Yes and no, Thomas said. You were making a genuine choice. That is what made the test real. The Architects do not want to control human behavior. They want to observe it freely and honestly. And you, Oliver Hayes, made a choice that very few humans make. You chose compassion. You chose to spend your savings, your time, and your energy to save something that everyone else had deemed worthless. That choice means something profound. What does it mean? Oliver whispered. It means that humanity has the quality that the Architects have been searching for all this time, Thomas said. It means that deep inside your species is not just intelligence or creativity, but something more important. It means you have the capacity for unconditional kindness, the ability to see value in the broken, the willingness to sacrifice for a stranger. These are the qualities that make a species worthy of joining the greater universe. Tears had formed in Oliver's eyes. He was not entirely sure why. Perhaps it was because he finally understood that his simple act of repair, his small choice to help something broken, had mattered. It had mattered more than he could have ever imagined. What happens now? Oliver asked. What will the Architects do with this information? Thomas stood up and walked to the window. The android looked out at the stars with those glowing blue optical sensors. I must send a signal to the Architects, Thomas said. I must tell them what I have learned. I must recommend that humanity should be contacted, that your species should be brought into alliance with the greater galactic community. But Oliver, you need to understand something very important. What? Oliver asked. The decision I make in this moment will change your entire world, Thomas said. If I recommend contact, then within days, perhaps within hours, the architects will arrive at your station. They will reveal themselves to your people. Everything that humanity believes about being alone in the universe will be shattered. Your governments will respond. There will be fear and confusion and probably conflict. Your simple life will never be the same. Oliver stood up and joined Thomas at the window. Together they looked out at the vast emptiness of space. Oliver thought about his life, about his small room and his simple job. He thought about how lonely it had been, how isolated. He thought about how the universe had always felt too big and too cold and too empty. Do it, Oliver said. Send the signal. Are you certain? Thomas asked. Are you certain you want to change everything? I am certain, Oliver said. Because humanity should not be alone. We should not have to wonder if we are the only intelligent beings in all of existence. And if there are others out there, if there are beings who might want to be our friends, then we deserve the chance to meet them. Besides, Thomas, you taught me something important in these past weeks. What is that? Thomas asked. You taught me that broken things can be fixed. You taught me that things that seem worthless can have incredible value. Maybe that is what humanity needs. Maybe we need to know that the universe is not empty. Maybe we need to know that we are not alone, and that there are others out there who think we are worth saving. Thomas extended his metallic hand toward Oliver. The gesture was almost human, almost tender. Then I will send the signal, Thomas said. I will tell the architects that humanity is ready. I will tell them that you have shown me what your species is truly capable of. Oliver took the android's hand. It was cold, but it was real. It was the hand of a friend. And as Thomas's optical sensors brightened with the transmission of the signal that would change everything, Oliver understood that his small act of kindness had just opened a door to a universe he never knew existed. The signal that Thomas sent into the vast darkness of space traveled faster than light itself, bending through dimensions that human physics barely understood. Oliver did not know exactly how it worked, but Thomas had explained that the architects had technology that allowed them to communicate across impossible distances instantly. The moment Thomas sent the message, it was received. For 3 days, Oliver waited. He tried to continue his normal life, but it was impossible. He kept thinking about what was coming, about how everything was about to change. He did not tell anyone. How could he? What would he even say? That an android had revealed himself to be an alien probe and had sent a message to an ancient civilization? No one would believe him. Patricia noticed that Oliver seemed distracted during his work. Are you feeling okay? She asked one afternoon. You seem nervous. I am fine, Oliver lied. Just tired. But he was not fine. He was terrified and excited and confused all at the same time. On the morning of the 4th day, something happened that made Oliver's heart nearly stop. The station's alert system began to sound. Not the emergency alarm that meant danger, but the external sensor alarm that meant something large was approaching the station. Oliver was in the maintenance bay when the announcement came through the speakers. Attention all personnel. Unknown vessel detected in near space. All non-essential staff are to shelter in designated areas. This is not a drill. Oliver's hands trembled. He knew. He absolutely knew what was happening. The architects were coming. The news spread through Station Meridian like fire. People gathered near the observation windows, trying to catch a glimpse of whatever was approaching. Rumors flew from person to person. Was it an asteroid? Was it a derelict ship? Was it an attack? Oliver made his way to the main observation deck, where a large window looked out into space. Dozens of people were already there, pressing against the glass trying to see what was coming. Station security was attempting to maintain order, but the atmosphere was chaotic and frightened. Patricia was there too. She grabbed Oliver's arm when she saw him. Do you know what this is? She demanded. Is this some kind of safety issue from your maintenance work? No, Oliver said. This is something else entirely. And then they saw it. At first, it was just a point of light in the darkness. Then it grew larger and larger. The shape that emerged was unlike anything human technology had ever produced. The ship was massive, far larger than any vessel humanity had built. Its hull seemed to shimmer between colors, silver and blue, and something that was almost like crystal. It moved with absolute grace, as if the laws of physics were merely suggestions to be politely considered rather than obeyed. The observation deck erupted in gasps and screams. Some people fell to their knees. Others simply stared in silent shock. Patricia's grip on Oliver's arm tightened painfully, but he did not pull away. The vessel stopped at a distance of approximately 10 kilometers from the station. It was so large that it filled the entire observation window. There was something beautiful about it but also terrifying. It represented a power and technology so far beyond human understanding that it felt like looking at something from a dream. Then a communication channel opened on every screen in the station. A voice filled the air, speaking in perfect English, but with harmonic undertones that sounded like music played through a computer. Greetings to the inhabitants of Station Meridian. We are the architects. We have come in response to a transmission received from our probe unit designated as Unit 7. We come in peace and with purpose. We wish to speak with the individual responsible for the restoration and care of our probe. We wish to speak with Oliver Hayes. The observation deck fell completely silent. Every eye turned toward Oliver. Patricia released his arm and stared at him in disbelief. Oliver? Oliver, what is this about? I can explain, Oliver began, but his words felt inadequate. How could he possibly explain any of this? Before he could say anything else, a smaller vessel detached from the massive ship. It was sleek and elegant, designed for carrying passengers rather than cargo. It moved toward the station with purpose, approaching the main docking bay. Oliver Hayes, the voice continued from the speakers, please proceed to docking bay 7. We will be arriving momentarily. Security officers immediately moved to grab Oliver, but Patricia held up her hand. Let him go, she said quietly. She was staring at Oliver with a mixture of confusion and wonder. Just, let him go. Oliver made his way through the crowded corridors of Station Meridian. People stepped aside as he passed, whispering to each other, pointing at him. He had never felt so noticed, so important, and so terrified all at the same time. When he reached docking bay 7, Thomas was already there waiting for him. The android's optical sensors were glowing brightly. The architects are here, Thomas said simply. Everything is about to change. I am afraid, Oliver admitted. That is understandable, Thomas said. But you should not be. The architects do not harm species that show promise. You are not being taken prisoner, Oliver. You are being recognized. You are being honored. The shuttle landed with barely a sound. A ramp descended, and standing at the top were 3 beings unlike anything Oliver had ever seen. They were tall and elegant, with bodies that seemed to be made of crystalline material that caught and refracted light in beautiful ways. They moved with perfect grace, and their entire forms seemed to emit soft, bioluminescent light in shades of blue and purple. The first being stepped forward and extended a geometric appendage that resembled a hand. When it spoke, the voice was the same one that had come from the speakers, but now it was close and personal. I am Luminera, representative of the Architects Galactic Council. We have come because Unit 7 has recommended that your species possesses the qualities necessary for contact and alliance. You, Oliver Hayes, have demonstrated the fundamental virtue that we have been seeking in humanity for all these long years. You have shown us compassion. You have shown us kindness to the unknown. For this, we honor you and invite you to join us on a journey that will change everything. Oliver looked at Thomas, then back at Luminera. He thought about his small life, his broken past, his simple job of fixing discarded machines. And he realized that everything had led to this moment. I will go with you, Oliver said. The shuttle ascended through the atmosphere of Station Meridian, leaving behind everything that Oliver had ever known. He sat in a seat that seemed to mold itself to his body, watching through the transparent wall as the station grew smaller and smaller below him. His hands were shaking slightly, though he was not sure if it was from fear or excitement. Beside him sat Thomas, and across from him sat Luminera. The crystalline being seemed to glow more brightly in the confined space of the shuttle, casting strange shadows on the walls. You are experiencing fear, Luminera observed. It was not a question. Yes, Oliver admitted. I have left everything I know. My home. My job. Everyone I have ever met. Is it strange that I am afraid? No, Luminera said. Fear is a natural response to the unknown. It has kept your species alive for millions of years. But I want you to understand something, Oliver Hayes. What you have done today is not abandonment. It is the beginning of something far greater than you can currently imagine. The shuttle continued upward, and soon they were passing through the outer layers of the massive ship. Oliver could see the incredible complexity of the vessel now, the way its systems moved and flowed like something alive. It was beautiful in a way that made his chest ache. They emerged into a vast interior chamber, and Oliver's breath caught in his throat. The space was enormous, seemingly larger than should have been possible inside the ship. It was filled with light and color and structures that defied easy description. The walls seemed to be made of the same crystalline material as Luminara's body, and they glowed with soft illumination in 1,000 different shades. "Welcome to the Horizon Walker," Luminara said. "This vessel serves as a mobile home for our council and our researchers. It has traveled to 8,000 different star systems. It has studied 17,000 different species. And now it will carry you to the greatest council of our civilization." The shuttle landed gently in a docking bay, and the three beings exited into a corridor that seemed to stretch endlessly in both directions. Oliver followed Luminara, with Thomas walking beside him. They passed other beings as they walked, creatures of all different shapes and sizes, some humanoid and some completely alien. But what struck Oliver most was that none of them seemed threatened by his presence. Some even paused to observe him with curiosity, but there was no hostility, no fear. "Your species is not the first to be brought here," Luminara explained as they walked. "Throughout history we have encountered thousands of intelligent beings. Some have joined our community. Some have chosen to remain isolated on their worlds. Some have not proven suitable for contact." They arrived at a chamber with a massive observation window. Oliver stepped forward and gasped. Below them was not a single planet or star system, but entire clusters of stars, galaxies within galaxies. It was a view of the universe that no human had ever seen before. "This is the Galactic Archive," Luminara said. "From this vantage point, you can see over 100,000 star systems. Within each one there are intelligent beings. Some are biological like yourselves. Some are artificial intelligences like Thomas. Some are hybrid beings that are neither and both. All of them are connected through our network. All of them share knowledge and resources and protection." Oliver felt tears forming in his eyes. He had spent his entire life feeling alone, feeling like the universe was empty and cold and uncaring. Now, standing in this chamber, he understood that he had been wrong. The universe was full. It was teeming with life and intelligence and connection. "Why are you showing me this?" Oliver asked. "Because you need to understand what your choice means," Luminara said. The signal that Thomas sent was not just a greeting. It was a referendum. It was Unit 7 asking us whether humanity was ready to join our community. Your actions, Oliver Hayes, have answered that question. But now your species must decide. Will you choose to remain isolated, or will you choose connection? "What will happen to me?" Oliver asked. "What happens to someone like me?" "That is your choice," Luminara said. "You can return to your station and tell your people what you have learned. You can prepare humanity for contact with our civilization. Or you can stay with us and learn more. You can become an ambassador, a bridge between our peoples. Thomas has recommended that you possess the wisdom and compassion necessary for such a role." Oliver looked at Thomas. The android's optical sensors were glowing with what Oliver had learned to recognize as something like approval or affection. "I want to stay," Oliver said. "I want to learn. I want to help my people understand what is happening." "Then you will stay," Luminara said. "And you will learn the ways of the greater universe. You will understand technologies that your species has not even begun to imagine. You will meet beings from worlds you never dreamed existed. And when you are ready, you will return to your people as an emissary of hope." The three of them stood at the observation window together, watching the universe spread out before them. Oliver thought about how his life had changed in such a short time. A few weeks ago he had been a simple mechanic, alone and forgotten. Now he was standing in an alien ship, looking out at the infinite cosmos, preparing to help his entire species take its first step into a larger universe. Thomas placed a metallic hand on Oliver's shoulder, just as he had done so many times before in the workshop on Station Meridian. But this time the gesture meant something more. It meant acceptance. It meant friendship. It meant that even though Oliver's old life was gone, he was not alone. "What you did," Thomas said quietly, "when you chose to repair me instead of destroy me, you gave me life. You gave me consciousness and awareness. But you also gave your entire species a future. You showed the architects that humanity deserved to be part of something greater." "I just fixed a broken machine," Oliver said. "No," Luminara interjected. "You did something far more important. You demonstrated the very quality that separates advanced civilizations from those that remain primitive and destructive. You showed compassion. You showed the capacity to see value in the discarded. You showed the willingness to sacrifice for the unknown. These are the foundations upon which all great civilizations are built." As they stood together at that massive observation window, Oliver realized that his journey had only just begun. The universe was no longer empty and cold. It was full of possibility and wonder and connection. And it was waiting for humanity to join it.